Hello and welcome. If you've ever dipped a toe into the world of data, you've probably noticed something. It can get a little confusing with all the different job titles flying around. So today, we're going to clear all of that up.
Yeah, take a look at this. You've got your business analyst, your data analyst, data engineer, analytics engineer, data scientist. I mean, wow, it's a lot, right? It's totally understandable why it's so tough to figure out who does what. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down.
So this is the big question, isn't it? Business analyst, data analyst, analytics engineer. What's the actual difference? I mean, they all sound pretty much the same, but you'll see the roles are actually very, very different. And the best way to understand it is to follow the data itself. We're going to go on a little journey from the moment data is born all the way to when it becomes this powerful insight that a company can use. And by the end, I promise you'll see exactly where each person fits into the puzzle. Ready? Let's get into it. All right, so every story has a beginning. And in the world of data, that beginning is all about getting the raw materials. That's where the data engineer comes in. Okay, so what is a data engineer? Well, think of them like the master architects and plumbers of the data world. Seriously, they're the ones who build and manage all the systems, the pipes really, that collect and move data from tons of different places. We're talking data of all shapes and sizes. Their job is to get it all flowing to one central spot, safely and reliably.
So, what does that mean they're actually doing all day? Well, they're setting up all the heavy-duty tech, whether that's in the cloud or on a company's own servers. They're making sure that flow of data is secure and managed properly. And they use this process you'll hear about a lot called ETL. It stands for extract, transform, and load. Basically, they pull data from one place, change it into a format that's actually usable, and then load it into a new home. The key thing to remember is this: they build the entire foundation. Without them, nobody else has any data to work with. Okay, so now we have all this raw data thanks to our data engineer. But here's the thing. It's not quite ready to be used yet. It's kind of like having a huge truck deliver a mountain of fresh ingredients to your kitchen. You've got the stuff, but you can't cook with it just yet. That's where the analytics engineer steps in to make it all usable. The analytics engineer is a super important role that sits right in between the hardcore engineering and the analysis part. They're the bridge. They take those raw data pipelines and start to clean, shape, and model the data. They're obsessed with data quality and testing, making sure everything is reliable and, this is key, easy for other people in the company to just pick up and use. They basically create the golden, trusted sources of data that everyone else relies on. This really spells it out, doesn't it? On one side, you have the data engineer. Their main job is building the highways, just getting the data from point A to point B. But the analytics engineer, they're focused on what happens once the data arrives at point B. They're the ones who turn that raw stuff into a clean, organized, and ready-to-use product for the rest of the business. All right, our data is collected, it's clean, it's modeled. Now what? Well, now it's time to actually find out what story this data is trying to tell us. And for that, we bring in the analysts. So the data analyst, think of them as the storytellers. They're the ones who take all of that beautifully prepared data and translate it into a language that everyone can understand. How do they do that? By using visualization tools to create charts, graphs, and dashboards that make the hidden insights in the numbers just pop right out. So a typical day for a data analyst might involve some final data cleaning and prep for whatever project they're on. Then they'll spend time designing the models that will power their analysis. And then comes the fun part, actually building the reports and dashboards in tools like Power BI that people will interact with. And a huge part of their job is talking to people around the company to make absolutely sure the reports they're building are answering the right business questions. Okay, wait a second. If the data analyst builds the report, what does a business analyst do? Great question. The business analyst is all about interpretation. They're the experts at looking at those charts and dashboards and connecting the dots back to what it means for the business and what the business should do next. And this slide just nails the difference. The data analyst's job is to show you what happened. They build the chart that says, hey, sales went down by 10% last quarter. But the business analyst's job is to tell you these so what. They look at that same chart and say, okay, sales are down 10%, so what do we do about it? Here's why it happened, and here's our plan. See the difference? It's huge. Okay, everything we've talked about so far has been about understanding what's happened in the past. But what if we want to predict the future? Well, for that, we need a data scientist. So, data scientists are the fortune tellers of the data team, but, with math and code. They use really advanced techniques to build predictive models. They're looking for complex patterns that no one else can see, running experiments and trying to answer the really tough, forward-looking questions. And when we say advanced analytics, it covers a whole spectrum of things. It can be as simple as just exploring the data in new ways, but it quickly moves into predicting what's likely to happen next or finding weird anomalies in the data. This is where you hear terms like machine learning and deep learning. It's all about creating a hypothesis, a smart guess, and then using data to test it and find the answers to those really complex what-if questions.
So, as you've probably figured out by now, this isn't a one-person show. Not even close. It's a true team effort, a whole collaborative journey to get from raw data to a real insight. So let's just run through that whole journey one more time. First, the data engineer gets the raw data in the door. Then, the analytics engineer comes in and gets it all cleaned up and ready for use. Next, the data analyst takes that clean data and builds the story of what happened. The business analyst then translates that story into what we should do. And finally, the data scientist looks at everything we know to predict what might happen next. You see, each role hands the baton to the next. I love this quote. Telling a story with the data is a journey that usually doesn't start with you. It just sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? No matter where you are in this chain, you're building on the hard work of the person who came before you. It's all connected.
So now that we've walked through the whole process, from gathering those raw materials all the way to predicting the future, I have a question for you. Which part of that data journey sounds the most interesting to you? Where do you see yourself fitting in?